welcome back to another and possibly the last fan rating on r/CREEPCAST because of the whole change to another subreddit, and that has just been blowing up like crazy. It's insane. So instead of r/CREEPCAST, it's going to be r/Tales from the Creeps. So that should be a very fun channel change. And I've been seeing it's just been like story submission after story submission, and I cannot wait to read stories from there. Anyway, today's story is suggested by someone on the Discord, on my Discord, and it's called My Vagina Escaped, and it's been ruining my life ever since. I actually read this before just going in blindly because I had to make sure it wasn't too explicit and YouTube wouldn't demonetize me for it. It has a lot of cursing, a lot of body horror, as you would expect from the CREEPCAST subreddit. So, honestly, I'm kind of excited to start reading it. It's got some horrible, awful moments, and it's got a little bit of goofy moments, too, that I took personally. Anyway, I'm pretty sure y'all are done listening to me yap. Let's dive into the story, and I will leave the author and all the links down in the description below, alright? Okay, let's get into this gosh darn horror. Ugh. When I woke up that Halloween morning, something instantly felt wrong. Pain, deep down below, a dull, hollow ache, throbbing between my legs. My sheets and underwear were soaked in blood. I thought I had started my period. I wish that had been the case, but actually, it happened to be much worse. I lifted myself up, my eyes following a thick trail of blood from my bed to the door. That fucking bitch! My fingers slowly reached down to check, but I already knew. She was gone. Emptiness, just like a bloody gaping hole where she was supposed to be. She'd finally done it. Ladius had escaped. But it didn't start there. Not really. If I'm being honest, it began a long time ago. I was around 12 or 13 the first time I noticed it, but back then, I thought it was normal. I didn't know any better. It was a hunger, but it wasn't for food. It wasn't coming from my stomach. It was coming from Ladius. At least, that's what I called it. Her, at the time. I don't know where the name came from exactly. I guess because my mom used to call it my lady parts. She had said all the other words for it were ugly, and that it deserved to be called something prettier. But I thought it was hideous. First time I actually looked down there, I was disgusted. Maybe I mashed that up together in my head to make a new word. Either way, that became her name, Ladius. Oh, lady and gorgeous. I just now got that. Or hideous, yeah. Okay, eventually we learned to get along. She and I, she'd get what she wanted, then she'd keep quiet for a while. It was a compromise, an understanding we had with one another. As long as she stayed happy, we were good. She had to come first, always. The real problems only started when that didn't happen. I slowly swung my trembling legs over the side of the bed. The bottoms of my bare feet were met with the shock of a cold, sticky puddle of my own blood. There were thick splatters of it on the walls and on the side of the bed. Christ, even my brand new fucking rug. She'd gotten it everywhere. Not only that, I had a bigger problem. Well, two actually. The first were getting myself cleaned up and figuring out how to cover my hole. The other was finding out where the hell Ladius had crawled off to. I had a feeling I knew what she was after. I mean, it was obvious what she wanted, what she craved. But as far as who, well, that was going to be a little harder to narrow down. You see, ever since high school, I've been what you might call a little promiscuous. That's the pretty way of saying it, at least. Lady S was the one to blame for it. Really, her increasingly insatiable hunger was the driving force behind most of my actions. I controlled my body, sure, but she was the one who called the shots. That is, until I cut off her supply almost a month ago. Shit, just never thought she'd actually find a way to break free. I sat at the edge of my bed for a few moments in shock, trying to wish it away, praying to wake up from this nightmare. That's when I noticed it. The huge pile of blood my feet had landed in and wasn't bright red like it was on the sheets. And the smell was old blood, thick, clumpy, so dark at the edges it was almost black. Large clots lay jellied into the coagulated surface, like strawberry chunks in a jar of preserves. The whore had been saving it up. I squeezed my leg together and shuffled myself to the bathroom, trying not to make this putrid crimson disaster worse by dripping any more out. Ladius must have done some kind of ritualistic type shit to be able to escape without it waking me up or killing me. Had to be. And yeah, it hurt, not as bad as you'd think. Way worse than normal period cramps, but probably not as bad as labor, I'd guess. With the help of some pain meds, I could take it, but I'd lose quite a bit of blood from her tearing herself away from my flesh. My head was pounding and it was starting to feel woozy. Popped a few Tylenols to take the edge off and got on with it. Honestly, at the time, my adrenaline was through the roof. I was more worried about it getting covered so nothing else could fall out. In a weird way, though, I also felt the tiniest sense of relief that she was gone. Like, maybe I should just let her go. Life would sure as hell be a lot easier for me without her around, but no, I couldn't let her loose at the world like that. I wasn't evil, not like her. I opened my medicine cabinet, I pulled out a pad and a roll of gauze, and started wrapping myself up. Blood soaked through instantly. Fuck, of course. I wasn't thinking clearly. I needed a better barrier. The pad wasn't good enough on its own. Tampon would just fall right out. That's when I got the idea. I ran over to the tub and grabbed my loofah. Then I wrapped it up in a bunch of the gauze, held my breath, and shoved it up inside my hole. Ugh. I winced, my eyes flooding with tears as the coarse, dry surface of the gauze scraped across my insides. But it fit. More importantly, it stayed. And once it started soaking up the blood, it felt weird, but ignorable, for the most part anyway. Next, I covered the hole with a pad and wrapped myself up like a mummy again. It seemed to be working, but I put down another one of my underwear. Just to be safe. That would just have done for now. Just have to do for now. I quickly cleaned the blood off my legs and feet, then grabbed the bleach and a few towels to get started on the mess. Ugh. I was going to have to throw that rug away first. I hobbled back over to the nightstand to check my phone. When the screen lit up, my heart dropped. 7 missed calls from around 3 a.m. and all from one person. Lance. Shit. That's where she went. I should have known. The phone call must have gotten her all riled up, and was the last guy I was with. The scent must have been fresh enough for her to follow. I still wasn't sure exactly she'd managed to pull off this escape, but at least now I knew her plans. I just hoped I could get her before she did anything crazy. I tried calling him back, but he didn't answer. That didn't necessarily mean anything, though. He'd usually ignore me if I ever tried to contact him before the sun went down. It was a Saturday, so he wouldn't be at work, probably still sleeping. Hopefully. It's just to drive over and show up at his house. Lance was a mistake, like so many of them turned out to be. Figured out pretty quickly that he only called me when he wanted to fuck. I mean, I wasn't looking for something super serious, but dinner would have been nice. Ladyus never let that stop her from taking the call, though. He became addicted to her pretty quickly. It was like she was the one all he ever thought about, all he cared about. It wasn't long before it pushed me over the edge. I'll admit I was jealous, once again. Just couldn't understand why he preferred that ugly bitch over me. So for the last few weeks, I'd started turning my phone on silent at night, which pissed her off, except last night. I got drunk and forgot. I left a bloody mess and threw on a pair of sweatpants and a hoodie. Then I grabbed my keys, shoved my feet into the first pair of shoes I could find, and bolted out of the front door. The sky sat at the edge of dawn with a pink glow, and an eerie silence blanketed the sleepy town, a jarring contrast to the chaos and panic that was happening inside my head. I'd only been into his house a few times. It took me a little while to remember which street it was. All it took was a little different in the daylight. When I spotted his car parked outside one of the houses, I pulled into the driveway behind it. The house looked quiet. His roommates were all gone. I banged on the door a second, then waited, but no answer. So I went over to the back of the house to knock on his bedroom window. As soon as I turned the corner, something stopped me dead in my tracks. The window was shattered. Beneath it, a bloody pile of glass shards lay scattered atop the grass and dead leaves. My throat tightened. I didn't want to look. I was terrified to see what Ladyus had done. At the very least, she had just embarrassed the fuck out of me. But what if she had done something worse? What if she were in one of her moods? I had to look. She could still be there, and I needed to stop her. I slowly stepped forward, my heart pounding as the glass crunched beneath my shoes. The windowsill was covered in blood. Fuck. Looked like it had already dried by then, too. Still, I needed to check. I lifted myself up onto my tippy toes to slowly peek inside. I wish I hadn't. No! 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 It was a massacre. The walls of his bedroom were all splattered with red. The thick stench of death and rotten blood poured out from the hole in the window. My hands shot up to cover my mouth. Ladyus didn't go there for a good time. She was on a rampage. My eyes suddenly focused on the center of the room. Lance was lying in his bed, bloodied from her head to toe, covered in tiny, jagged bite marks. His eyes were fixed wide open, glazed over in a lifeless, milky blue. The look of pure terror burned into his face forever, and his dick was gone. Oh, I'm sorry. The first time I read that, I bursted out laughing, because, I mean, it was expected, but it's still funny to read. Oh, man. All at once, the blood drained from my face. Dark spots began to creep into my vision. I slowly backed away, trying to catch my breath. The look in his eyes, the blood, was horrific. I couldn't look at it anymore. I felt sick. I didn't even call the cops. I just fucking bailed. Shitty, I know, but Lance was beyond help. The situation really didn't look good for me, like, at all. So I turned and ran back to my car as fast as I could, and hauled ass down the street. I only made it to the stop sign before I had to open my door and lean my head out to puke. God, I couldn't believe what she had actually done. Hold on. Oh, excuse me. I gotta stop burping during the readings. Never in a million years did I think Ladius would ever go that far. I mean, yeah, she could get a little frisky sometimes, but she never killed a guy before. Something deep down inside told me that she wasn't finished, and she'd finally gotten a real taste for it, and now she was after more. I wiped my face, then pulled out my phone and started scrolling back through my old texts. It was before Lance? Oh yeah. Fuck that weirdo. Garrett. The needy one. No matter how much I gave and gave, he always wanted more. Dude texted constantly, but in answer he'd freak out. Felt like he was trying to consume my entire life. Speaking of, he couldn't keep his face away from Ladius either. It took forever to peel him off of me, and her. I really didn't want to have to call him. Maybe I'd just drive toward his house and see if there was any trace of her along the way. At that point, I was pretty sure she had been gone at least 4 hours, if not longer. How much damage could she have possibly done in that amount of time? Yeah, she had a pretty good head start, but still, there was no way she could be moving that fast on foot. By crawling. Ugh, gross. She was going to be absolutely filthy when I found her. I just knew it. Filthy cat moment. Oh boy. I sped through the neighborhoods, keeping my eyes peeled along the way with all Halloween decorations around. It's going to make a lot harder to spot her. Too many places she could be hiding. Ignoring the pain and overwhelming nausea I was feeling, I focused all my attention on the mission at hand. And the only thing that mattered was catching her. My pulse raced faster and faster and closer as I got to his neighborhood. Yet, I was almost there and still no sign of her. I did see a dead rat on one of the yards, though. Someone's cat probably killed it. Hopefully not mine. God darn it. As soon as I turned down the street, my heart stopped. Blue lights, yellow tape. His house was surrounded. The coroner's van was parked out in front, and 2 men were wheeling out a body in a black bag on a stretcher. Garrett's body. I was too late again. I slowed my car to a crawl and pulled up alongside some neighbors who were outside watching. I rolled my window down. Hey, what's going on? What happened? Most of them looked like they were too in shock to answer, but finally one man stepped forward and said, "One of the guys who lived there was murdered." A woman, who I assumed to be his wife, interjected from the sidewalk, "You don't know that, Joseph!" He turned and shushed her, then approached closer to my car. "How?" I asked. Do you know what happened?" The man shrugged. "Oh, I'm sorry, how?" I asked. Do you know what happened?" The man shrugged. "All I know is that I was overheard his roommate tell the cops. Said the back window was smashed, and something about the poor guy looked like he had choked to death on blood." Oh, gosh. I scrunched my eyebrows, trying to hide my internal revelation. Then he leaned in closer and lowered his voice. "Between you and me. Between me and you. Weird thing is, the roommate said they didn't even think it was his blood. Didn't look right. Fuck. So that's what she's been saving it up for. Jesus. I refuse to say that. What was I going to do? The blood was my blood, my DNA, and it was all over Lance's room, too. I was screwed. That bitch was gonna get me thrown in prison. I threw the car in reverse and backed up from the scene, heart pounding. I needed to regroup, formulate a plan, and take some more Tylenol, too. I just needed some time to think. I was too afraid to go back home, though. The cops were already looking for me. That would be the first place they'd go. No, I needed to be smart about this. I drove to the drugstore downtown, brought some water and the cheapest bottle of brand ibuprofen I could find. Then I went back to my car and started scrolling to find out who the fuck she was going after next. When I saw the name, my heart sank. Derek. Oh, shit. I really liked him. He was a genuinely good guy. One of the few who actually treated me right. He was kind and thoughtful, generous, almost never argued, but in a bitch move, I broke up with him, and for Garrett, of all people. And Derek hadn't even done anything wrong. I'd just gotten a little bored, and to be honest, I liked all the attention I was getting from someone new. Biggest mistake ever. Okay. Here's my take. Does she deserve this? Probably. I hit call and held my breath. Hello? Oh, thank fucking God, I whispered. Olivia? Is that you? Yeah, it's me. Where are you? At home. Why? What's wrong? Derek, please, just tell me you're okay. Yeah, I'm fine, he laughed. What's going on, Liv? I can't explain right now. You wouldn't believe me anyway. Just stay there. I'm coming, and keep away from the windows. I hung up before he could ask any more questions. Shit, he probably thought it was some crazy half-ass excuse I came up with just to see him. Oh well, at least he was safe for the time being. All he had to do was make it over there before Ladius did. The 10-minute drive from the drugstore to his house only took me 5. The streets were getting busier, though, and the stupid Halloween carnival was already setting up. It was only so long she could keep scurrying around without being seen by someone. And God help me if she came across a stray dog. I pulled into Derek's driveway and tried to compose myself before going inside. All I had to do was hang around there long enough to catch Ladius before she could do any more damage. Wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with her once I got her back, but that didn't matter at the time. As my trembling fingers struggled to unscrew the cap off the bottle of water, an urgent news report interrupted the Smashing Pumpkins song that was playing on the radio. I froze. The announcer's unrelenting words pulsed through my ear, almost choking me. A man from a very prominent and wealthy family had been discovered brutally murdered this morning. His body was found drenched in blood, and both his hands had been severed and were missing from the scene. I didn't even need to hear the name. I already knew it. Grant. At that point, it became obvious. Ladius was working her way backward, yes, but not through all my past lovers, only those who'd committed transgressions against me. Derek, in all his goodness, had been spared. She wasn't on a blood-fueled blind rampage. It was calculated, targeted. She was taking it upon herself to right the wrongs that had been done to me, to us. She was punishing them for their sins and ruining my life in the process. Okay, here's where I have the problem with this story. Ladius is horny. She begged for it, and now that the guys got what they wanted and she wanted, she's mad and is trying to kill them. It's a weird way of going about it. Alright, where was I? Okay. Man, sorry. Gosh, I need to stop eating before I read. Grant, in contrast, was a spoiled little rich boy. The most entitled motherfucker you'd ever meet. The type who wanted what was his and everything that was yours, too. He got all he asked for in life, but was still never satisfied. And stingy, too. Ugh. It didn't take long enough. It didn't last long, though. I broke it off after a huge fight one night about him not leaving a tip at a restaurant. I mean, not that he deserved it, but I did find it a little funny that it was his hands that were ripped from him. That's why you broke up with him? It wasn't all his snarky prickiness. It was because he forgot to leave. He didn't leave a tip. I get it. I get it. Because I used to be a waiter myself. But you don't break up with someone all because they leave a tip. They didn't leave a tip. For a moment, I looked at the house in front of me, contemplating going inside to ask Derek for help. But realistically, what could he do? I didn't want to drag him into this. Ladius was my problem. No one knew her like I did. Besides, I couldn't bring myself to actually tell anyone what was going on either. And shit, that weird phone call was enough. I didn't need to freak him out any more than I already had. At least now I had something more to go on. I scrolled back further into my text, popped some more painkillers, then backed out of my driveway. I knew who was next. Seth, the stoner. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't good either. In fact, it seemed like he felt nothing for me at all, which only made me and Ladius want him more. Even though he was a loser with zero ambition, there was something about him that kept me chasing after his affection. The allure of the unrequited. He finally broke my heart for the last time when he missed my college graduation, because he forgot. He still lived in the basement of his parents' house. I could already see from the end of the road that their cars weren't there. I turned into his driveway and gulped down hard. When I shut off my engine and opened the car door, I could hear it. A guttural, piercing, awful noise. He was screaming. I bolted into the house and down the basement stairs. About halfway down, I slipped on a puddle of blood and tumbled the rest of the way, head first. I landed in more blood, dark, thick, rotten, and then I looked up. Seth was flailing around, desperately clawing at something on the back of his head. No, not something. Her. "Lydius!" I shrieked. "Get the fuck off him!" But it was too late. Amidst his cries of agony, I could hear sloshing and crunching and a snap. His pupils widened as he stared at me in horror. She chewed through his neck and severed his spinal cord. His body twitched once and then went stiff, and he hit the ground with a thud. "You fucking bitch!" I screamed. My heart was pounding out of my chest. Seth wasn't dead. He was paralyzed, trapped in a perpetual state of inaction. His chest continued to rise and fall in rapid succession as Lydius quickly scurried across the floor away from his body. I lay there in shock for a few seconds, face to face with the gurgling, motionless body of my ex, before reality slammed back into me, scrambled up to my feet and shot after her. But by then, she'd already made it out of the broken basement window. She was moving a lot quicker than I anticipated, too. I didn't have time to try and help Seth. Besides, one of the neighbors had surely been awake to his screams and called the cops. They'd probably be showing up in any minute now. I had to go. I lifted myself up and poked my head out of the broken window. Lydius was already almost at the end of the road. That word. I'm not going to say that. I climbed out, wincing at the jagged shards of glass that remained sliced through my clothes, cutting up my arms and legs. She was heading right toward a truck and stopped at the stop sign. My body went cold and my legs almost gave out from underneath me. The driver wouldn't be able to see her. She was about to be turned into a roadkill right in front of me. I started running faster, screaming, "Stop! Wait! No!" But the windows were up. They couldn't hear me. I watched, breath held as the truck slowly began to roll forward with Lydius crawling directly in its path. I wanted to shut my eyes, but I couldn't. The tires inched closer and closer to her as the truck began to gain speed. My heart stopped. Then, just as she was about to be smashed, she leaped into the air. I couldn't believe it. That bitch actually jumped up into the wheel well. I looked on in shock as she suctioned herself to the surface of it, hitching a ride to her next stop, and then heard the sirens wailing in the distance. I took off back to my car and barreled down the street, trying to catch up with the truck. Once I had it back in my sights, I followed closely as I scrolled to find her next victim, Warren. The first and last son of a bitch to ever raise a hand to me. An idiot gym bro with an explosive temper who didn't like to be told that he was wrong. Complete and utter man-child. I don't think he needed to explain why things didn't work out between us, or why I wasn't exactly devastated about the Lydius' next target was. The truck began heading toward the downtown area where the Halloween carnival was about to begin. Warren had worked security for it the year before. He was always looking for an excuse to rough someone up. My bet was that he'd be there again, and I was right. The brakes of the truck squealed as it came to a stop near the edge of the carnival entrance, only a few yards away from the security tent. I pulled my car over to the side of the road and watched as Lydius slid out from her hidden stowaway compartment. The place was beginning to get crowded, but somehow no one seemed to notice her as she slithered past their feet toward the tent. I got out of my car and slowly walked toward the entrance. I had to act natural. I couldn't risk causing a panic by running. I ended up getting her trampled. I could already hear Warren's loud mouth booming from inside the tent. Just the sound of it ignited a rage within me, but I had to focus. Lydius was still a few feet ahead of me and gaining speed. If I walked just a little faster, though, I could catch up and quickly grab her without making a scene. But then, just as she approached the tent, something came over me. I just stopped. I stood still in the middle of the crowd, watching her crawl inside and wait for the screams. A large red splatter hit the inside of the tent, seeping through the white canvas instantly. Then they came, blood-curdling, guttural, and deafening. The crowd panicked. Everyone began to run, all scrambling in different directions, except for me. This time, I wanted to see what she had done. "She's a bit of a psycho, too, isn't she?" "See? She..." Slowly, I approached the entrance of the tent. The sound of the sloshing and the gnashing of her wet teeth were still audible over the cries of terror that surrounded me. When I looked inside, Warren was on the ground with Lydius on top of his stomach, ripping away at the flesh like a rabid dog. His hands clawed at her, struggled to pull her from the body, but she was embedded. The putrid stench of rotten blood was overpowering as she released her vengeance into him. Then I heard the loud pop of his ribcage cracking. Being forced open, his screams intensified, but his arms now lay dead at his sides as she began to eviscerate him. This was my chance to grab her, to sneak up while she was preoccupied. My eyes darted around the room for something I could use. There was extra security t-shirts sitting on the table to the left of me. I quickly reached over, grabbed one, and flung it on top of Ladius. She slid off Warren's body and started to panic, so I leaped over, tried to pounce on top of her. I landed just shy, reached out, but grabbed only the shirt as she scuttled away from beneath it, leaving a trail of dark red slime behind her. That bitch was mocking me. I swore I heard her laugh as she slid underneath the tent wall. With all the madness going on, I was able to slip out unnoticed and run back to my car. I waited for a few minutes, hoping to see her. With everyone scrambling around, though, it made it impossible, so I left. Besides, Lydia seemed capable enough to avoid being stomped on. I just have to catch up to her later. Alright, I'm gonna get me some water. My throat is getting dry. Okay, I'm back. I already knew her At that point, I needed to park my car somewhere and ditch it. I'd already been seen at two crime scenes that I knew of. Maybe more. It'd only be a matter of time before the police figured out whose blood was all over each and every one of them. I already knew her next destination, so I drove to a small grocery store about 5 minutes away from it. Strange looking place, sort of run down. Never been inside, but I figured my car should be fine to leave there. Like I had a whole lot of other options anyway. The pain starting to creep back into my consciousness, I popped some more ibuprofen into my mouth and shot it back with the last swig of water left in the bottle. Took one last look at myself in the mirror, then got out of the car, slamming the door behind me. Being on foot was going to slow me down significantly. I knew that. But to be honest, a part of me wasn't as worried about stopping her anymore. And that wasn't just because I knew who was next. Truth was, more than anything, I just wanted to get her back. I flipped up the hood of my jacket, forced in a deep breath of crisp autumn air, and started walking to the house of the next man on her list. Evan. A total and complete douchebag. A human being so overcome with jealousy that it tainted every molecule in his body. Being with him was a nightmare. Another guy couldn't even look at me without him freaking out. It didn't stop there. Evan was even jealous of me. Every small accomplishment I was undercut by some snide remark. Any attention I received should have been given to him. Obsessive, controlling, manipulative. I think I hated him even more than Warren. Evan left the kind of scars you can't see. And the worst part of it all, he was my first. The guy I'd chosen to give my virginity to. Someone hateful and selfish. Piece of shit. It was something I could never get back. Never forget. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't scrub the stain from my heart. My feet carried me down that familiar road without even a glance upward. Thoughts racing through my mind kept me in a trance. By the time I raised my head again, I was standing at the edge of his driveway. The air suddenly felt thick, suffocating. Settled in my lungs like molasses. She was close by. I could feel it. I hesitated at the door, wondering if I should knock, if I should warn him. If he truly deserved to be spared her wrath, I lifted my fist. But right before it met the surface of the wood, I heard something. Glass shattering, and then the wild scream of a man in shock. It bolted around toward the back of the house, panting hard as the cold wind rushed against my face. A sticky trail of crimson ran from the neighbor's backyard to the broken window of Evan's bedroom. "Ladius!" I yelled, but I couldn't get in that way. The window was too high. There was nothing to climb on. I ran back to the front of the house and tried to go in, but the door was locked. Then I remembered the spare key. I lifted up the welcome mat, grabbed it from underneath, and rushed inside. He'd managed to make... I'm sorry, that was a bit of plot convenience. Oh well. He managed to make it into the kitchen by then, but she was right at his heels. When she reached the counter, his hand shot out and grabbed a knife from the block. I screamed, "No!" He looked over at me and froze with the blade in his hand. "Olivia?" Just then, Ladius launched herself... Oh, gosh. Just then, Ladius launched herself at his face. She slammed into him with such force that he was thrown back into the floor, hitting his head on the edge of the counter as he went down. The knife flew from his hand. Blood splattered across the white cabinets. The blow didn't knock him unconscious, though. he wasn't shown that mercy. I was in awe of her power, her fury, and in a moment of the pure clarity I remembered the truth. She wasn't trying to ruin my life. She was trying to do this for me, doing what I couldn't. Scrubbing the stains from my heart so that we could start fresh again, together. If I just gave her this last one, then maybe she'd be satisfied. Maybe then she'd finally come back to me, and so I let her. I watched on in reverence as Ladius forced her way down into his throat, stifling his screams of horror. His chest rippled as she worked her way deeper and deeper until she found what she was looking for. His body began to convulse, and then the familiar cracking and crunching and sloshing. She was hollowing him out from the inside. I inched closer to him. His flesh began to rip open slowly at first, and then all at once, an explosion of blood splattered across my face as Ladius emerged from his body, with his still beating heart clutched firmly between her jaws. I swallowed hard, wiped my face, and crouched down low to get closer to her. This is not how you go about dealing with personal issues, is allowing your cat to go murder them. Barely do anything about it when you can. Like, I don't... They don't deserve to die. Sure, they were bad dudes, but it doesn't mean you let your vajayjay rip them apart. Oh my gosh. She's a psycho too. She definitely deserves this. Ladius, please, come. She just kept gnawing at it, tearing off huge chunks and swallowing them whole. I reached out to touch her, but she pulled away and growled. Ladius, I'm sorry, please, I begged. Please come back, I need you. She ignored me. Tears began to flood my eyes. I had taken her for granted. Despite her flaws, she was a part of me. She was also her own entity. She deserved respect, to be heard, to be understood. So I did what she wanted. I turned around and walked away. I let her finish this last kill and hoped that after she'd be ready to come back home to me. I walked the streets until the sun began to set. I didn't know where to go or what to do. I felt lost and scared, so very empty. My entire body was throbbing with pain, and I was pretty sure my makeshift tampon had been leaking too. But at least I was wearing black sweatpants, and luckily it was Halloween, so the rest of the blood and cuts all over me didn't throw up any alarms either. Suddenly, I felt a vibration coming from my hoodie pocket. I pulled out my phone, and it was a text from my best friend Catherine. She was inviting me to a Halloween house party. Since the carnival had been canceled, I wiped my eyes and sent back, where? I wasn't exactly in a partying mood, but I wouldn't take long to walk there from where I was. At the very least, it was somewhere I could hide. Ow, I just bumped my leg into my desk. Jeez. At the very least, it was somewhere I could hide for a while, but really the truth was, I just didn't want to be alone anymore. When I walked up to the address she'd sent me, the place looked dark and dingy, almost abandoned. It was an old Victorian-style house with all the lights cut off and a red strobe light going off inside. An old jack-o'-lantern sat rotting on the front porch like it had somehow been there for years. I stepped over a few crushed-up beer cans and went in. The blaring music drowned out my thoughts instantly. It was packed with people, all in costume, trying to find Catherine, and at that seat of chaos wasn't something I had the energy for at the moment. Sent her a text, then plopped down in the first unoccupied seat I could find, the love seat in front of the living room window. I sat there in a daze, watching as all the people around me danced, drank, and made out. Everyone was so happy, so carefree. I wondered if that would ever be mine again, if that would ever be me again, if she would come back, or if I'd end up spending the rest of my life in prison for what she'd done. Just when I felt like I was about to break down, I felt a weight shift beside me. I looked over to see a very attractive guy had sat down next to me. He was smiling, extending an open beer can my way. I took it from his hands and smiled back. "Hi, I'm Olivia," I said, tucking my hair behind my ears. "I know," he yelled over the speakers. I was confused. I could have sworn I'd never seen this guy before. "What? Don't you remember me? It's Preston from middle school." And all at once, I did. He looked a lot different as an adult, but it was him, my first boyfriend from 6th grade. The one who had woken Ladius. What had started it all. The one who had too much pride to admit to his friends that he was dating the weird emo girl in school. So he ditched her at the homecoming dance and made her sit alone. The smile began to slowly fade from my face. I clenched my teeth and squeezed my hand tighter around the bottle of beer, and then heard the sound of glass shattering behind me. What a goofy, unhinged body horror story. Like, it was, like, she was a psycho as much as her cat. Like, oh gosh. I couldn't help but, like, kind of chuckle at parts because it was just kind of ridiculous, but I liked it. It was so out there, outlandish. It was good, and it was fun to read. Oh, man. God. Anyway, I don't really have much to say. I just really liked the story. It was fun and goofy. But that's all I have for today, or tonight. So thank you all so much for stopping by and listening. Please tell me what you thought of the story down in the comments below. And like I said, all the links are in the descriptions below as well. So again, thank you. You all have a great Christmas. All right, later.